Welcome to Fight Show. Much like Ryan Garcia, Tanner's B samples came back. Turns out he tested positive again for a sweet ass haircut.
Oh, Fight Show episode 33 live on the interwebs, powered by Buffed Energy. Back again for another week with Bill, Sarah, and Tanner. What's up, guys?
Hello.
How's it going? Good to be back.
Hello.
Awesome.
That was the worst low energy hello ever.
There we go.
Guys.
Let me put her out here into the world. Bill, I see
up,
you
buddy?
got your Buffed Energy cup there, buddy. What's up with Buff? Tell them about Buffed Energy while me and Tanner share these streams out.
All right, man. Fuck cans. Buffed Energy is your alternative to the regular canned drinks that you know about. I'm not trying to get sued here. So full of nootropics, mushrooms, Buffed Energy. Give her a shot. I'm a third shift worker out there for our EMS, first responders, the firefighters, all those people who work those late hours, or people who just need to pick me up in the morning. Yeah, I'm preferring Buffed big time to the 80 grams of sugar that you find in some of these other canned drinks. Like I said, are you sure I can't just say the name? I won't.
All the rest of those bullshit canned energy drinks, you can head on over to buff.energy/fight show. Discount should automatically be applied. If it doesn't, you can enter the code Fight Show wherever it gives you a spot to enter a code, and you will catch some savings. We are also presented by our good friends over at 500 level. Tanner, you're muted. Unmute yourself and tell them about 500 level.
There we go. 500 level. We got the officially licensed UFC merch and other sports as well. As you can see, I'm rocking the Dustin Poirier Diamond shirt today. I got it just in time for 302. Left the tag on this one as well, just to once again show you guys officially licensed. So that's across the board. Use the code FightShow20, get 20% off, and get you some sweet gear, man. It's awesome. They got a lot of good stuff.
And while we're paying the bills, we'll kick it back to Bill. Bill, what else, buddy? What do you got to tell them about the nose slap?
Oh, no slap. I thought
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Well, I got the soul slap out today.
Yeah, he got the soul slap. He's not fucking around. Sleepy driver, third shift worker, pre-workout, power lifter, jiu-jitsu, wherever you need an edge and wherever you just want to just wake the fuck up. Noslap.com/fight show or noslap.com. Use the code Fight Show for 20% off. You will save you some cash with that. And with that being said, what's going on this week, buddy? We got a lot of shit going on this week to talk about, Tanner. You want to lead the show, bud?
Man, what do we start with? Do we start with the B samples coming back, or do we start with some new announced fights, or what are we leading with?
I mean, we could also lead with the people that have been asking us for show merch for months. Bill, you want to show them? We officially got the show merch done. Bill's already grabbed one. Official Fight Show team.
Yeah.
You might have to turn around and show them the back, Bill, just because the back's pretty impressive as well.
All right, I got you. I'm going to try and get centered here. Hold on.
Fucks I give 0. Official Fight Show merch, MMATcompany.com. You can go in there and search Fight Show. It'll come up. We're working on getting you guys a personalized link, so it's easier to just go there. But support the show that supports the fighters. Fight Show merch now available at MMATcompany.com. More promos. We'll have some graphics and stuff up with that this week. But now, yeah, Ryan Garcia's B test came back positive.
Yeah, I ran it on this the other week, man. What the hell is going on? Story straight and then release the news, you know? Hey, this just in, Ryan Garcia ate at McDonald's today. Like, come on, man. Get the facts right and then give the story. Don't fucking tarnish the guy's name, then clear him, then retarnish him, you know? Find out what the hell you're talking about and make a factual statement.
No, you're definitely right. Like, media runs away with things. But, I mean, at the end of the day, he popped off for Osterine.
There was some discussion. He was hot for one sample, then he wasn't hot for another sample, and then he was hot for something else, but negative for something else. So it's just been much like everything else, you can't trust the media for nothing. Christy wanted that ass, Bill.
You're looking at the ass. The ass stands 6 foot tall and goes about 250 to 260 pounds.
Speaking
You're looking at the ass.
Speaking of piss tests, or should I say banned substances, Khalil Roundtree got a 2-month suspension from Drug Free Sport International.
Yeah, I guess if you take some shit and you think you're going to get caught, just tell on yourself and you only get 2 months. That ain't a bad deal.
Raquel Pennington did the same thing once, and I mean, so let's talk about that one too. Like, actually, there are a few suspensions going on. We haven't heard anything about if anything's going to happen to the Devin Haney Ryan Garcia fight, if it's going to be overturned or anything like that.
Well, it has to be now, right? It's a no contest.
Right. I mean,
it never happened.
You would think so. And I mean, you know how this boxing shit goes and how weird it's been for the last so many years. But then Khalil Roundtree, like, his was only DHEA. So, I mean, it is a banned substance by the governing anti-doping agency, but it's also something you can get over the counter, and it was a tainted supplement. I mean, like, wasn't necessarily like this guy was taking, like, PEDs. I mean, whereas something like Ostarine, I mean, I don't know.
You know what I additionally hate about cheaters is, you know how many millions of dollars were bet on that fight? And I mean, my God, that's essentially, I don't know, maybe I'm out of my mind, but that's essentially fraud. You know what I mean? You're going in there, you're betting on what you think is a fair contest where everybody played by the rules. You know, say you lost $1,000 on Ryan Garcia that night and you can't get it back from DraftKings now. Could you just fucking sue Ryan Garcia for, like, I guess you can't. Maybe I'm just running away with it in my own head, but that's bullshit, you know? A lot of people.
That's what I'm wondering. What happens with that? Like, what? Like, do you just, like, cut your losses? Like, if it gets overturned?
As far as I know, that's the way it goes, you know, is you deal with the loss, I guess.
Tanner didn't like what you had to say. He left.
Loss of Tanner.
Loss of Tanner. Back. What's up, Cutman Rob? Cutman Rob tuning in. We got some more stuff coming from him here in the next couple weeks. Always appreciate you stopping by. Here's Canada. There he is, right there.
I was trying to check the comments, and then it just took me out of here. Yeah, no, like, I guess that kind of sucks, man. Like,
yeah, traditionally, I guess you just cut your losses when you find out the guy cheated, because they pay the money out instantly. You know,
right?
And everybody's making moves off that, but that's, like, it seems like bullshit. And you know what? That you know, I don't know how the boxing pay structures work. We all are pretty familiar with how MMA fighters get paid. You generally get an amount to show up and an amount if you win. Does Ryan Garcia have to pay that back to the promoter fully? And I'm not a huge fan.
Let's touch base on the fact that he bet on himself and won X amount of millions.
$12 million. $12 million. And that's illegal in boxing. Just to let you know, Sarah, that has been made illegal in UFC recently. And James Krause and a couple other UFC fighters were under, like, federal investigation for bets and stuff like that in the fights, because it got illegal into the UFC, because they were trying to make it more uniform, because NFL, NBA doesn't allow it. And, like, people are like, oh, well, he should be able to allow to bet on himself winning, but it opens too many doors for people fixing fights or taking falls or stuff like this happening. I mean,
hey, I'll tell you what, if I'm the head dog at that casino, I tell Ryan Garcia, you give us our money back, you know, I guess we would give you your money that you bet on yourself back, but you give us the winnings back or we're suing you, and we're going to the media with it. You know,
I have a feeling he's not going to be let in a few places in Vegas now. Like,
well, let's break this all down. So if you think about it, and we're just going to lay the narrative out as we heard it. Again, I don't trust the media as far as I could throw them, and that goes for most MMA media too. You show up overweight. Well, sorry, you show up overweight. You have this whole charade where you're losing your mind and you're doing all this stuff, and it's supposed to be this big spectacle, and you got one over on everybody, and ha ha ha. You show up overweight. Maybe that was part of the spectacle. You're taking a substance and pop for a substance that bodybuilders use, as I understand it, to keep muscle mass. That's what Ostarine is. Help you keep muscle mass. So
yeah, somebody correct me. It helps you retain muscle mass, and, like, you can lose weight and retain muscle mass.
So you show up overweight.
Ryan Garcia
you show up overweight. Yeah, you showed up overweight. You then pop for this. You win the fight. You then tell everybody that you bet on yourself and you're a winner because you bet on yourself. And now what? So if all this was a ruse, if the whole mental breakdown and all this shit was a ruse, and then you knew you were, maybe you didn't know, maybe you tried to hide it, but there's no masking agent. He got popped for Austrian. So where did this brilliant plan of yours go awry to the point where you decided, because if he was really on the fuck level, I wouldn't have told anybody I bet. I'd have had my sister's husband's brother bet, and I'd have thrown him off some money, and he'd have bet. Mm-hmm. I'm not telling everybody I bet on myself, because now you're just opening yourself up to a whole other world of shit.
If you're a fighter at that level, do you not know that you're gonna get tested, bro? Like a lot. You're likely gonna get caught. You know, like what are you even doing? Why are you even taking? You know, you're not some undercard fighter nobody's paying attention to. Let me ask you guys this: do you think a no contest is fair? I've always been an advocate. If you get caught cheating in any way, shape, or form, loss. That's a loss on your record. You lost that fight, the other guy wins. Why is it a no contest? No contest is for some accidental shit or something that was nobody's fault. Bro, you cheated, like, which is disgusting, by the way. Like, well, I don't.
Here's where I'm at, too, with the Khalil Roundtree situation before we get into an all boxing show.
Okay.
Matt says he wants to believe Ryan. It was tainted blow. He used the John Jones defense.
The Chewbacca defense.
If you Khalil Roundtree, all right. So Christopher, a good buddy Christopher Rothstein, he's a cage announcer down in Florida, been in the game for a minute. Florida MMA Hall of Famer. He brought up a point. Khalil Roundtree ingested this. Now, for those of you that don't know, active UFC fighters on the roster can go through Thorne. It's a company you might have seen on the cage, THORNE. Thorne's a company that provides supplements to the fighters. Everything that they do is on the approved list of substances. There's no risk. You don't have to worry about a banned substance being there because it's coming from Thorne. This is one of the dozen or so services the UFC provides their fighters that people don't talk about when they talk about fighter pay. But anyways, so you have this Thorne. So Khalil chose not to use Thorne. Maybe he had a supplement company that was working with him, that was paying him to use their supplements or do an endorsement deal. Okay, cool. I can also say that if they fucked up and they put the DHEA in there, which is, you can buy that over the counter. So I don't even understand why it's a banned substance, but whatever.
That's probably why it's 2 months suspension.
The guy took the initiative. He got smacked. Nevada can still, from what I'm hearing, Nevada can still choose to give him some sort of sanction, but I don't even see how this is where us not having the full knowledge of somebody who say works with the UFC, but you have how many other pro fighters there in Nevada that fight for the Nevada State Athletic Commission? I'm sure the Nevada State Athletic Commission, are they testing for DHEA? Is that on the banned substances list for the state of Nevada? I don't know.
What I want to know with Roundtree is okay, you know, that's admirable that you told on yourself, but you probably weren't on it that long to create. Just stop taking it and go legit and keep your mouth shut. Why the hell would you tell on yourself?
Well, I'm sorry. My luck is if I'd have done that, I'd have got popped the next day for a drug test, and then it'd have been 6 months to a year.
Then you explain yourself. You know, you say, did he intentionally took something on the banned substance list or no?
He took something that was provided to him. The company that provided it to him had the list. I mean, they're working with him, so they're like, hey, here's the list of banned substances. What was being told, the narrative out in public, is that they provided this to him. He learned about that DHEA was in it. Maybe he consumed it, checked the label. I don't know. You can knock the guy for 10 different things. But
so in a good guy move, he basically wanted to come clean. It wasn't like he was intentionally trying to cheat and then broke down. It was like, oh, I've been cheating this whole time. I wish he would have just kept his mouth shut.
Well, I personally give Khalil Roundtree, and this is the caveat with it. It's Khalil Roundtree.
He's a good dude.
I don't know him. I don't know him personally. I know a couple people that I'm like one person removed from people that train with him and people that know him. Like they speak so highly of this guy, his story, like just the fact that he's been able to accomplish what he's been able to accomplish. So I don't know if like the heartstrings get pulled or what, but like I'm not 100% inclined to believe that Khalil Roundtree is out here fucking juicing. I'm not.
Well, and you know what? And that's probably why he only got 2 months, which isn't even a fight camp anyway. It's basically like, I mean, now obviously we lose the main event of with him and Jamal Hill or co-main, because I believe that was co-main. Yeah. So we
But
lose that.
we
so
did get a replacement today. We can talk about that in a minute. That's going to be a very fun one.
We will. Oh, and hey, and by the way, I want to say, Sarah, will you please just shut up and let other people talk?
God, I'm on one today. I'm unhinged. Absolutely just
Chime in anytime, man. Just budge your way in there. Say what you got to say.
I'm excited. I'm listening. I'm soaking it all in. I'm excited.
So what we'll do for the next 5 minutes, if we'll just start doing acronyms for everything. We'll be like, oh, NSAC said this, and then it was DHEA, and then DFSI said that he got a 2-month suspension, and really fuck her up because she doesn't know all the acronyms.
Well, let me tell you what I'm asking. I will ask Sarah. We will get there. We will get there. Let me ask Sarah. What is your opinion? Why not just let any fighter take anything they want? I've heard people say that before. They're like, this is about finding out who's the best combat athlete in the world. Maybe some guy knows that some shit works better than other shit. I've read many comments that said that people have asked. They're like, just let fighters take steroids. Let them take whatever they want, like the old Pride days. What's your opinion on that? I mean, I'd kind of be for it. I'm okay with it.
I don't know. I'm on the fence here. On one side of the fence, I'm like, yeah, go for it. Because, I mean, why not? Like you said, maybe somebody knows a little something that somebody else doesn't know. And that's not, particularly their fault. But also, on the other hand, it puts, so many people at, like, disadvantages. And, like, I don't condone it.
I will say one great point to bring up is, which we have right here too, Matt Lee commenting, allow TRT use again. Let's bring up TRT Belfort. There's a fighter, if you want to go look him up, Sarah, at some time, there's a guy, they called him Beater TRT Belfort, because that dude was juiced to the freaking gills on TRT, and Mike Bisping actually ended up losing his eye from a head kick by Beater Belfort. So, like, that's, I don't, like, believe necessarily in PD usage, like, in combat sports, because it can be deadly. I mean, that's where people start getting fucked up and start getting hurt and stuff like that. That's just my opinion. Like, I understand maybe if there's like a league or something, we definitely could do something to make a separate league where you want to see who can be the most jacked and most vicious, crazy, kill each other. And if they want to sign up for it, then hey, fighters sign up for what they sign up for. That's why I don't, believe in like overprotection of fighters. Like, they're fighters, they sign up for it, and they know what they're getting into. But as far as like a professional league like UFC, I just don't really see the practicality.
Hold on, one caveat with that, and I'm going to say this with all due respect because I am a fan, but there's 2 words I want to mention right now on this topic. Again, jiu-jitsu is definitely a different sport than MMA, and it's only a part of it. But Gordon Ryan, hello? Mm-hmm. Like, could Gordon Ryan have done? Yes, I think Gordon Ryan could have done, but also there's the caveat of Gordon had health issues. Who's to say? Much like when Conor went out. Everybody and their brother knew Conor was on steroids. You know why? Because when you have that type of injury, steroids is used in the recovery process.
Like Anderson Silva. He stayed on him too long.
I'll tell you what. And if you think back really hard to old school, okay, I have it from what I think is a very good source. Who knows if it's right or wrong? I've heard that George St. Pierre was on steroids. You think about George St. Pierre's little bloated belly and all that shit.
Dude, I've heard everybody pre-15 was on steroids. Like,
well, yeah. Look. What about Nate Diaz? Everybody's on steroids, man. It's like, people know people, and people talk, and people are using this shit anyway. You look at
a list of fighters that like were on these winning streaks before USADA, and then after, like John Jones was the only one that kept winning, and it was kind of because he didn't he still popped on after. I mean, so like,
people forget. Anderson Silva popped hot. Like, he's the nicest, like, most.
But that's what we were talking about with the leg injury, because that was from when he broke his leg against Weidman, and he kept taking the steroids that were prescribed to him after he wasn't supposed to.
Correct.
But
people are on banned shit anyway.
You also,
I mean,
you look at look at stuff that's banned. I mean, right now, peptides. Ask anybody that knows anything about athlete recovery. Give these guys some the fact that they just partnered the UFC again. I'll bring it up and I'll rant on it for however long you want. But the dozen or so services the UFC provides their fighters that nobody ever wants to bring up when we have the discussion of fighter pay, UFC just got a stem cell partner. So now these guys are going to be doing stem cells. So the technology, the problem with the shit is you had entire countries, Russia. I mean, look at Yoel Romero. Yoel Romero is a fucking Russian-Cuban science experiment.
That's he's a freaking nature. I don't know if I don't know if Roy's attributed or took away from any of that. That dude, I remember a doctor told Dana White one time that his like tendons were like 2 to 3 times the size of a regular human. Like that dude is a freak of fucking nature.
Yeah. Again, could it be? But you hear the narrative is Russian. I mean, let's go back to the Russian wrestlers. How many Russian wrestlers, power lifters? Fuck, wasn't Russia banned from the entire Olympics for every sport because of fucking...
I don't know if it was every sport, but I remember reading Russia was banned because their athletes were just ridiculous, you know?
Russia is notorious for PED usage.
Yeah,
you know, over in Pride, they didn't test. Over in Japan, I mean, these guys are fighting on all kinds of illegal shit anyway. I mean, I hear what Rob McMullen is saying about not we're a sport where people are trying to hurt each other, but you know, the NFL, they're using steroids. There's guys out there, you know, and it's a now that's not the hurt business per se, you know, but it's still like physical one-on-one contact.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what a great
regardless of anything else, legacy. Mark McGuire. I mean, we'll go into other sports, but Mark McGuire.
Yeah, he was juicing.
Home run king. That's all tainted. Sammy Sosa, tainted. You know what I'm saying? Like all these guys that we came up and when all you got your information from when we were kids was ESPN. All these names of all these different things. Legacy.
All right. And hey, that's cool and all, but hold on, Garrett. Let me ask you a question. Who's the all-time league leading in North American baseball? Who's the all-time leader in home runs?
As soon as you said baseball, I got confused.
No, I was about to say, yeah.
Baseball. Who is it?
Oh, Mark McGuire.
There you go. That's it. Nobody gives a fuck about. Nobody's going to be like, oh, steroids. Maybe baseball purists. But Mark McGuire, I'm kind of with Rob on this. It's like, dude, I'm okay with basketball, football players, baseball players using steroids and shit like that. The hurt business, the fight business. You ever read that or hear that interview with Chael Sonnen, where he said, when I fought John Jones, I was juiced to the fucking gills. And he goes, and then he picked me up and tossed me across the ring, and he's like, I know your secret.
I had more juice than Tropicana to put it in his words.
yeah. Chael keeps it real. You know what's going on. You know,
but I mean, that's the thing. Back then, it was like a norm. So, like, it wasn't like, abnormal to use steroids. People were using them back then. But US 88 came in, and I don't really know what preempted that. Like, probably have to do a little more research on that. But I think it was definitely Dana wanting to move UFC more in direction like uniform, like NFL, NBA, that kind of thing, like they've been doing with the Venom uniforms and stuff like that. So, I mean, it is professional and it is one of the best in the world. So, we got to have great standards.
Yeah, if you want to catch corporate sponsorships, you need to get on board. Yeah, no, that I agree with. But it would be fun to see a fight league where just everybody was allowed to do whatever the fuck they wanted, I remember like old school WWE, you'd see like Hulk Hogan, like Randy Savage, like Rick Rude in like the Ultimate Warrior. And then all of a sudden it comes out that they were getting steroids from a doctor. Yeah, no shit. You have a team of monkeys working on that in the back? Yes. Yes, they're on steroids.
You could sit here and say baseball, football, whatever. It's frowned upon wherever. But at the end of the day, much like MMA, if you can find a way to gain an edge. I mean, honestly, why haven't we done away with weight cutting? You know why? Because it's an advantage.
Yeah.
It's the one advantage. It's the one advantage that unless they take away from it, they can't take away. You can't. You know what I'm saying? People talk about weight bully, this, that, and the other. Well, guess what? If I had the chance to fight for millions of dollars, and my fat ass needed to cut down 2 weight classes, in order to gain that advantage, I'm going to cut the 2 weight classes until I can't cut the weight classes no more.
Mm-hmm. No.
Well, I mean, I don't think they're going to cut weight cutting until they have to. Like, and that's what any fight organization that has cut weight cutting did. I mean, one organization, a guy died, so they kind of had to remove weight cutting with that aspect. But
I think there's.
I don't think that's going to go anywhere.
I don't think we need to cut weight cutting. And the one thing I will sing the praises on is one does that. And again, you got people out there making efforts to do things, and it should be taken into consideration because like one does the rehydration test. So maybe that's a new technology. Maybe they need another year or two where we might see that go across the board. But
are you pretty educated? Are you pretty educated on the one? What the rehydration test? Are they only allowed to gain a certain percentage of weight back on fight night?
It's something with the percentage and gaining back. It's like
that's what it is. You can't if you gain I think it's like over like 5 pounds or something like that. Like if you gain over that within like between weigh in and the fight, then they call it off.
Really?
But you can't sit here and
adjust something.
I don't think you're going to sit here and change a policy on something that kids in middle school are. I know kids in middle school that are like, oh, I have to watch my weight because I'm look, fuck Tanner. You just in general, you're competing in jiu-jitsu. What did you say the other day? I got to stay under this weight because this is where I want to compete at. You don't want to be a pound over and be the smallest guy in your weight class. And you're not even doing it in any way malicious. You're doing it because this is the weight I want to compete at. So that's your goal.
Well, you got to think like if I'm at 158 right now, and the weight class is going to be 160 and under and 161 to 180. I practically with the time that I had, I could have bulked to 165. But then again, I'm going to go against somebody that's 175, 178, closer to 180. And I mean, it's just more practical to be on the heavier end of a weight class than it is to be on the lighter end. And I mean, some fighters do fight at their natural weight. And I mean, Matt was talking about here about weight cuts take months, years off a fighter's life. Like, dude, I remember when Habib, that's why he only fought once a year, because that was the only time he could really get weight. And so you just
it's one of those things that I think goes hand in hand with the sport, and you can't you can't do it. You have to do it the best you can. I think taking IVs away from these guys, I understand the reasoning why they took IVs away for rehydration, but at the same time, don't you want these guys rehydrated and performing at optimal peak condition? You know, I mean, you don't want your main event dragging ass. You don't want your main event to suck as a promoter. If I can let a guy rehydrate knowing he's going to be at 100% or close to it, or I let him not rehydrate and he's at 75, even as a promoter, I got to be like, what the fuck? Like, what did we just watch? I
will give you a little lesson in weight cutting and wrestling here that I'll let you know about. Okay, when I wrestled and when I was in high school in 1995, if you could make the weight, you could go. A guy named Jeff Reese from Michigan. I'm talking Michigan wrestling. Okay, this is a Division I, top-notch shit. He died cutting weight. And then all of a sudden, this shockwave went through the whole, collegiate / high school / junior high wrestling programs. Now these guys, at the beginning of the year, they go in and they do little guys. I remember hurting myself. I remember crying myself to sleep, dreaming of food. I don't know how close I was to injuring myself or hurting myself. I have an eating disorder for life. Being hungry to me is the worst feeling in the world. But we have a thing now where all these junior high and high school kids, they meet with a doctor before the season starts. They do a hydration test, and the doctor is the one that prescribes, here's how low you can be on this date, and this is the lowest you can go. And even though I could probably get 10 to 12 pounds under that, the doctor doesn't deem it safe, and that's where you have to wrestle, okay? If that doctor says on January 1st, you're only allowed to weigh 148.9, you could be at 146 and be like, I'm doing jumping jacks. I'm fine. The paperwork says you can't weigh below this on this date. You know what I mean? But it took somebody dying. And you know what? It might not be this week, might not be this month, might not be this year. There will be a UFC fighter that dies from cutting weight. It's going to happen eventually, you know? We've already seen a couple people weigh in and stumble off a scale. I think one just happened real recently. Who was it? I saw him.
William Gomi.
Yeah.
It was
And
him.
these are guys doing it at the top level, you know, and they're putting themselves next to death to try and make this weight. So somebody is eventually going to die. You know,
I mean,
and
you look at Anthony Johnson. He used to make freaking 170.
Yeah.
Alex Pereira was huge at middleweight. I mean, like, where do you draw a line and say like, because I mean, Joe Rogan calls it like sanctioned cheating, basically. So where do you like draw? I mean, obviously, like you said, it's not going to go away, and we've said that somebody's eventually probably going to die from cutting weight. It's definitely not healthy and good for the body, and it wears on people. I mean, but
much like Bill
where
said,
do you draw
the
line?
We've also progressed as a sport. So weight cutting for a UFC fighter now, if they use all the tools available to them and they're a seasoned professional, weight cutting is not what it was when Bill was fighting as a pro. I mean, again, it keeps coming up in conversation, but it's a point I'm trying to make. Like, the dozen or so services the UFC provides these on roster fighters, these active fighters, is a sports nutritionist. That's probably the number one thing that they can do. I mean, yeah, they took IVs away and stuff like that, but you got a nutritionist that you have access to that you might not normally have, or maybe you had it as a pro in the regional scene, but you didn't have it now. So you have these sports nutritionists and these sports psychologists that are able to get in there and work on some things and figure stuff out down to the macro, like counting macros. And I mean, down to these guys got these dialed into a science. You used to see the Dolce diet shirts. I don't know if Tanner, you remember that. I know Bill remember the Dolce diet. Everybody was on the Dolce diet. Mike Dolce was like one of the first ones to really start dialing this in publicly. I'm sure there was others doing it behind the scenes, but Mike Dolce got the shine for it. The Dolce diet was everywhere. But that was when these fighters, that was in that switch in time where it went from cage fighting to professional mixed martial artists, because there was a paradigm shift in that. This is definitely not UFC from 93. This is definitely not UFC from 2003, where, all this stuff goes on behind the scenes that these guys are doing to try and reinvest in the sport that nobody actually talks about. But again, part little bits and pieces to take into consideration when you're talking about shit like this.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's going to take somebody dying before anybody, and then that's a bad, like, corporate look, bad sponsor look, especially when you saw it coming and you didn't do anything about it. And that will be the narrative in the media, is that you knew this was a problem and you didn't get ahead of it. It took somebody to die before you attempted to fix it, and it'll likely be high profile, and no, I do agree with what the one commenter said. Yeah, it fucks your organs up, man. It's, it's not a good thing. I don't know how you don't know how close you are to death until you fall over and you don't come back. And even then you don't know. I remember I wrestled in 1995. I wrestled at 171 pounds. I had my first amateur fight at 31 years old at 170 pounds. Do you know how bad that hurt? Like, to get back to your high school weight, maybe not Sarah Tanner. Price, what was your high school weight?
I was 185 in high school, and when I did both weight cuts during the time I trained mixed martial arts. One the entire card was well, I was walking around about 222, light 222, probably 225, and I was cutting to 205 for that reason. So my our good buddy, rest in peace, Mike Malice, he booked me on my first ever fight I was supposed to have, and my knee got injured, but I still cut the weight. I still cut the weight. I still sent him a picture and said, "Hey, look, here's the deal. This fucked up. This happened. I'm still early in my career. I don't want to fuck it up, but guess what? Boom, took a picture of the scale. I still made the 205. You know what I'm saying? I've cut weight twice.
That 205 to get to your high school weight of 185, that last 20 fucking hurts. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure I pushed myself close to injury.
Also, can we just point out, you said you wrestled in 1995. Tanner, what year were you born?
1997.
God.
I was
That's
born in
funny. Yeah.
96.
Let
I will
me
say
just
I've
say,
never cut weight professionally, but man, like with this maintaining weight, like I have anxiety and stuff, so like I make sure to stay away from sugar, alcohol, and dairy. Don't necessarily stay away from sugar. I mean, it's in freaking everything and with breakfast and stuff like that. But I try to get the organics and moderate my intake, all that good stuff. I don't drink, and I'll substitute dairy, especially in fight camps. But like I haven't necessarily especially cut weight, but I'll tell you what, I've been running and going on runs with like the full sweats and the
yeah, but
uh
you're healthy though.
hoodies and the
You're healthy.
right and
Cutting
the
weight isn't a
beanie,
good thing.
trying to make sure that I'm burning all my calories and stuff like that. And I'm telling you what, I ran 3 miles yesterday on a treadmill with my hoodie and sweatpants and beanie on, and if that's just probably like an eighth, a fraction, a tenth of like what something cutting weight is, I don't want no fucking part in it, dog. Like that is it
Let
for
me
me.
tell you what, as the resident fat guy, right? As the resident fat guy, I'm
That's
out
me.
now actually.
That's me.
Well, I've lost the pregnancy. I had the sympathy weight on for pregnancy. I had the 3 discs fucked up in my back. So as the resident temporary fat guy here, when I tell you every ounce of my being, and there was people that trained with me, because I had guys that were also fighting on the team. So we all cut weight together. Like I was cutting weight the same as these guys to make weight. I was in it to win it. I had people telling me I was fucked. They're like, why are you like Wednesday, I was supposed to weigh in Friday. Wednesday, I found out the fight was canceled. Those next 2 days, for no apparent reason at all, other than to do it, sucked ass. It was my first weight cut. I was down when the fight got canceled because of my knee. I was down to like 209, maybe 208. And again, we're just kind of doing this with there was no nutritionist involved. There was no 6 or 8 of
What
these under my
nutritionists
belt.
were there back then? It was eat your
Well,
chicken, rice, and broccoli. Like, I mean,
pretty
that
fucking
was
much. And then
it.
starve yourself on Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
like to do it,
Crank up the
and I'm
heater and
like,
do suicides. Like,
so every time these guys are like, oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to fight here. And then I'm going to turn back around and I'm going to fight like Pereira. Pereira's talking about fighting, 300 and then doing 301. Fuck you. I don't want to wish that on my worst enemy, bro. I don't want to wish that sauna suit and that, shadow boxing in the sauna, in a sauna suit to try and get them last 2 pounds off. And I didn't have to. And everybody, even the people that at the beginning were like, yo, bro, much respect. You're cutting weight with us. Even the people were like, bro, just go home. So,
Dude, I remember my weight cuts. I was like a teenage girl trying to get my boyfriend to propose to me at a Taylor Swift concert. I was not eating. Like, it was the worst feeling of my life, dude. I was anorexic. Like, it was fucking horrible, man. Like, that's why if I were to ever come back and fight these days, it would be a heavyweight. So I am no, heavyweight is, dude, wherever. Tanner, you're a young guy early in your jiu-jitsu career, with that, whatever you want to accomplish, man, go where you can perform best for the longest amount of time. This extreme weight cutting shit, it's bullshit, man.
yeah, I haven't been doing it
extreme.
I've been doing runs to keep my calories down and doing accessory work so I don't gain too much muscle mass and I keep it lean. And
but that's not an extreme weight cut. These extreme weight cuts, they mess you up
no,
mentally.
that's what I'm saying. I'm not doing that. Like, I haven't done that. And like, yeah, I don't. And even if I did, like, I mean, like, I'm probably 158 right now, so I would try to. I like my figure. I'm going to see how I feel going to the competition. I was a little bit heavier last year, but we'll see. And I mean, if I ever do MMA, I could always just cut like a few pounds down to like 155. I don't think that'd be too brutal. So,
dude, if you ever do an MMA fight, I'm coming. I don't give a shit where you're fighting at. I'll be there. It's going to happen.
Right.
And I highly suggest you should, man. That would be awesome to come check you out.
Oh yeah, I definitely got the place to train for it. I just focused on this jiu-jitsu competition and going to see what happens next.
I remember when
how I started out, bro.
I remember when Diego Sanchez cut the 145 and then went in the cage at 171 and everybody was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Now it's like 4 guys do that per show, pretty much, you think?
I was about to say Dustin Poirier. I'm rocking him right now, and he's probably going to go in at like 180, 185 after weighing in at 155. That's what I think. Like, well, yeah, they said like 186 or 185, 186 whenever he fought Dan Hooker.
Yeah,
I can't.
Islam's gonna put some weight back on too. You know.
Oh yeah, and some thick Dagestani boys.
Well, we're already pushing 40. Sarah's over
Yeah,
here
we've
with
talked
nothing
about
to do.
PED usage. We've talked weight cutting. We've got some good topics in, and we've got the last minute Carlos Ulberg coming in. We've got 302 coming up, Dustin Poirier, Makachev, and yeah.
Yeah, who's filling in? Who's Jamal Hill's new opponent? Is that Olberg?
Yeah.
Carlos Ulberg, yeah. It's going to be a fun one. Last, I have that little video. It was a 12 seconds his last fight. Knocked him out. So this is going to be a good one.
I'll tell you what, this is not a gambling show, fellas. Carlos Ulberg for the upset at plus money. Carlos Ulberg will finish Jamal Hill.
I'm going to check those odds and see what we got.
And then Jamal Hill hype train should be over, I think.
Yeah. He couldn't even finish a 45-year-old Glover Teixeira. Okay? Now, Carlos Ulberg wins that. All right.
Sarah?
So
I respect that.
Do we have any questions for Bill? I know you have a list. We're not going to get to all of them this week.
The next 10, 12 minutes. Sarah, what the hell do you have for me,
here. Man? Okay.
And these are just opinions, not necessarily the opinions of Fight Show. The opinions of a wily old man that's been hitting the head too many times.
The views of Bill Bookwalter do not necessarily represent the views of Fight Show or any of the other people involved.
Good. Good, Sarah.
Or represent the views of our sponsors.
Yeah, right.
All right.
By the way,
with this one. Okay, so I know what it is to be a ref. You know, you put the outfit on, you do the damn thing. But what makes you a good ref? What, in your opinion, makes you a good ref?
Hit him with the one-liner.
No. The ability to think with common sense quickly. Okay. A perfect example, okay? There have been refs in the past where a guy steps in the cage immediately after an eye poke. Immediately. And the fighter in the moment says, I can't see. And the referee's waving the fight off. Motherfucker, you got 5 minutes. Use your resources. Call the fucking doctor in. You don't even have to say don't care. But like, you just got poked in the eye. Of course you're working it out. I'm going to call the doctor in. I'm going to let the doctor assess you for 5 minutes. The doctor has up to 5 minutes to assess a fighter. I'll be like, dude, I would wait till that 4-minute, 59-second mark and then talk to the doctor and say, hey, I need an answer. Can this guy fight? Of course the fighter can't fucking see. He just got fucking gouged in his fucking eye. But you said you can't see. Fight's over. Fight's over. I'm a ref. I'm doing the right thing. Just common sense makes a good referee. You know what I mean?
Or like Herb Dean when he did Brian Ortega. How many fingers am I holding up? 1, 2,
That's
3.
not your job.
Okay,
That's not your job, bro. Call the doctor in. Use your resources. That's why the doctor's there. You know, you're not there to no, a good referee, somebody who can think on their feet, make common sense decisions quickly. And also the humility, which is not apparently Christy will laugh at this. This is not one of my strong points. I'm empathetic. Apparently, I'm not that humble. Whatever. I don't care. But the ability to admit when you're wrong and you made a mistake. And I have spoke about it on this show multiple times. There are referees out there that will defend their call to the grave. And then they got all their friends. They got all their friends chiming in and be like, "Oh, it was a good stop. This. Just say when you fucked one up. Like, hey, being a ref is fucking hard. I was wrong in that moment with the information that I had. Now looking back, I was fucking wrong. There's nothing bad about admitting that you were wrong or you got a call wrong. There is a certain referee. We will call him Gark Moddard. And he will not admit a mistake ever. His ego is just gigantic. Just say you made a mistake. The humility is honestly makes a good referee, and the ability to say, I'm not always perfect.
Well, and we touched on that before too, real quick, just to add into this. Like you look at a situation like Mark Goddard, we had the PFL. Gark Moddard. We had Gark Moddard at the FPL in Paris, Germany. And we're not telling anybody where it was, but no, we had the splinter incident with Cedric Doumbé.
He could have handled it so much better. So
You
much
could have
better.
called the doc in. Doc could have removed the splinter, said he's okay to continue, or the doc could have said, "Nope, got a splinter. He's got to go
No,
to the. I'm not
and here's
qualified
the
to do
thing.
it."
Here's the thing. Here I am, armchair quarterbacking. No, unfortunately, this is my thinking. You probably shouldn't have called the doctor in, but you should have taken a second to explain to the guy, there are no timeouts. We can address it between the rounds. If you stop again for this, I am going to call the fight. Are you able to continue? And if Khalil, he can make Cedric, if he says, no, I can't, then you waive the fight off. If he says, yeah, I'll wait till between rounds, you say, okay, do not stop again, fight. Nobody would have given Gark Modern shit for that. They'd have been like, man, that guy's the man. Instead, he's just like calling it off, you know? Yeah, he could have handled that a lot better. There are gray areas in this sport, and there are gray areas in these rules. You know what I mean? It's like Marab being choked out by Ricky Simone. He was only out for like a split second, but he made it to the end of the round. So he deserves his 60 seconds to recover. But the fight got stopped, and everybody was okay with it. But then you get the Zhang Wei Li, where she had that chick finish at the end of the round, but they gave her 60 cents to recover. There's two different, like we have basically the same shit. No, the same shit with two different results, and everybody's chill with it. You know what I mean? So it's like, but anyway, that's
it always does that like once through the show.
Yeah, no, common sense and the ability, man. You got to think quick. It's hard, and you're not always right, and it sucks.
Well, like I said earlier, like when you rep as many
mistakes.
fights, like yeah, exactly. When you rep as many fights, like someone is like Herb Dean or Mark Goddard, then it's inevitable that you're going to make a mistake. But at the same time, you got to have 100%. That humility. No one's stuck up on your decision or your bad ref call like 6 months or 6 weeks later. Even I mean, we have fight events every Saturday. Like there's probably going to be a bad call next weekend. You know what I'm saying? Say you messed up, move on. Like you know, like it's same thing as competing. I mean, sometimes you make mistakes and you lose, or you know, just. I don't know. Move forward.
I will tell you,
very good aspect.
Before we move on, I do feel as if I'm the only referee in the world to current date who on a public platform has publicly apologized to a fighter where he felt like he didn't do a good job. So, Christy, if you're watching, I am humble. Take that.
But also, big kudos to you for that, because that's big.
I have publicly apologized to a fighter where I felt I did not do a good job. You know, and that's important because you get better after that, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big thing to do. That's definitely respectable, for sure.
Take that, Christy. Big Tasty is humble. I'm sure we're going to hear about that tonight. But anyway, next question.
Okay, so I want to know... So how different is it to ref different like organizations with different rules? Like, so for example, I know like, I don't know how many, like what exactly you've refed, but we can answer that with this as well. But for example, I know like in Pride, you can stomp, but you can't use elbows. UFC, it's the exact opposite. You know what I mean? You can't soccer kick somebody's head in, but you can definitely elbow them and cut them open. That's totally fine. So is it weird going from one organization that has one set of rules to another organization that has a different set of rules? Is it like a weird transition process?
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
You know? Sure. It sucks to be in Delaware, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and have Virginia. And have all these like microscopic like little rule differences and shit like that. And you just, I don't know, you got to really utilize your little, because you don't want to be long-winded in these you don't want to be long-winded in these fighter meetings backstage, but you do have to tell them all, I don't know or care where you fought before. Tonight you're here. Here are some of the major rule changes. And it's important because if you go against these rules, then you're inserting me into the fight, and I legitimately don't want to be involved in the fight at all. You know, I don't want to be a part of this fight. I want whoever trained harder. You know, that's the guy. The right guy is always supposed to win. The right guy does not always win, but the right guy should always win. And yeah, we're further along now with the rules than we've ever been, 5, 10, 12, 15, 20 years ago. We are closer now to being on the same page. And we're still fucking shit up. Because what did we saw? We saw something with Gark Moddard over in Canada with the fingers down. I forget who the fighters were, but anywhere in the United,
it was Arnold Allen and Evilov, wasn't it? No,
you are 100% correct. Yeah, no, anywhere in the United States, in North America, it's fine. It wasn't even close. His full palm was not down, only his fingertips. So every one of those knees was legal. In Canada, they're illegal, and it's fucking stupid. Like, I can't even believe we're still doing this in the year 20. My God, we're heading into 2025 already. We're only a few months, we're half a year away from it, and we're still talking about this bullshit that should have been cleared up in 2010.
And
so,
just to let you know, Sarah, so like there's variances in every state. And I'll go in our little block right here in the Mid-Atlantic where we're at. So Pennsylvania amateur fighters. Now, remind you, because Bill's getting his reps in, so he's worked shows. He's worked amateur fights as well. I mean, you need refs in amateur fights as well. So you have Pennsylvania, which has 2 sets of amateur rules. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, Bill, but it's still amateur and advanced amateur, correct?
Yes.
Whereas to the point where that's the difference. Advanced amateur to amateur in the state of Pennsylvania is the difference between being able to throw strikes to a grounded opponent. So you have guys that are doing that at that level. You have Maryland, which doesn't have an amateur scene. A lot of their guys go to Virginia. Virginia's a third-party commission, but they're still operating under the same unified rules that Pennsylvania is. And I'm not going to – we can have a whole show about this, but I'll just say it. We summed it up a couple weeks back. We talked about it. Bill's ran a fuck ton of fighter meetings. I've been in a bunch of different fighter meetings in multiple states, either as a promoter, a corner, working the floor, working the event, help, whatever. I've done multiple different fighter meetings from multiple different perspectives. Every single person that comes in these fighter meetings is going to interpret pretty much the same set of rules in a different fashion. And that's where we talk about gray area a lot, but it's personal interpretation.
You want to look up a really gray area? You want to go watch the John Jones Matt Hamill fight.
Okay.
Great example there. Oh. But continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but just an example.
A lot of it's perception. The grounded opponent rule, the 12-6 elbow rule, what goes on in the cage. It's all, you could fight in the same promotion, in the same state, in the same arena, 2 months apart from each other and have 2 different guys reffing your fight. And one of the guys is going to give you pre-bout instructions as opposed to what Bill's going to give you 2 months later. And it's literally everything's the same. Also,
dude, not only the corners and the fighters interpreting shit differently. Keith Peterson and I, we interpret shit differently. Dan Mergliotta and myself, we interpret shit differently, And it's crazy because, like I said, we're going to different states and everybody's. Well,
think about how many of these fighters don't speak English.
That was fun. Oh yeah. The Russians at PFL.
The Asian guys.
We'll talk about that another night. But yeah,
the Brazilian guys that don't speak English.
I'm sure they were just shaking their head yes and didn't have any idea what the fuck I was talking about.
They're just in there getting.
We're just like
yeah. They just wanted me to stop talking.
To touch on Michaela's comment quick, so you have the unified rules, and this is kind of where we. It actually opened up a can of worms. Andy Foster, who is the head of the California State Athletic Commission, he is also the head of the ABC Rules Committee, which the ABC Association of Boxing Commissions is what oversees MMA. They then can give suggestions to each state commission. The majority of the states are operating under the new unified rules. And if you watch some older fights, you'll hear them at the beginning. Tonight we're under the new unified rules, or we're under the unified rule. Essentially, for the most part, you have before 2016 and after, and I might be misspeaking a little bit on this. Canada, the situation in Toronto was still going on the 2016 rules. But the unified rules themselves, the framework of the unified rules, are essentially the same worldwide. I could say in America because we have the ABC down to the state commissions, but you have 50 state commissions. Again, you can do things. It doesn't even have to be a different commission. You can do things for the same promotion in the same arena, fighting in literally the exact same cage you fought in 2 months ago. And the only difference is the third man in the cage. And it could go different for you because this guy's going to interpret these rules or say things differently than this guy. And it doesn't make either one of them better judges. But like Bill alluded to the other week, he will go in and he will pull the pros aside and he will say, look, if you see me doing this, again, Bill doesn't want to be involved in the fight. So when he goes to these pre-fight meetings and he's like, if you see me doing this, if you see me doing that, I don't care where you fought before, you're here now, and this is what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's very much a case-by-case basis.
It does. Yep. That's a perfect explanation, Garrett. So, all right, we can do one more, and then we'll get into the end of the show. Go ahead, Sarah. What else you got for me? And then I'll hit some of your other questions.
All right. Let me choose a juicy one. I have such a list here. Let me choose a juicy one for you. Let's see here. Or maybe I'll save like some super juicy ones. Okay, so okay. Tell me about your personal debut fight that you reffed for the first time.
Oh my God, it was for Ryan Kerwin. Dude, you have to understand, I don't remember a fucking thing. I remember this. It was down at the National Armory in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. For I believe it was XCC Ryan Kerwin.
Yep.
Trying to get in position. I had shadowed at a couple events, PA Cage Fight, and I had watched Kevin Mulhall and I had watched Keith Peterson, and I was finally having my first fight. The only thing I remember about this fight, to try and get in a position, rather than just be chill and let the guys circle and shit. These guys, it was not the worst. It wasn't the first time, but these guys kept circling one direction. So here I am running as fast as I can in the same clockwise direction to try and get into position. Well, they kept rotating, so I kept rotating, and it was literally me running around the cage in a circle for the fucking first 2 minutes of the round because it was an amateur fight. I didn't referee any pro fights that night. But the first amateur fight, and they weren't throwing a lot of strikes, they were just circling. And here's my dumbass looking like I'm playing Ring Around the Rosie. And I'm just literally running to try and get in the position rather than just sitting still, realizing that if I just sit still, they will circle back in the frame. So it was, and Greg Serb pulled me aside. He's like, you can't, and it was traditional. They were both traditional right-handed fighters, you know. So basically, and here's something that Dan Mergliotta taught me. When we see two right-handed fighters square up, okay, if we change positions and the referee stands still, you have the same viewpoint as you did. It's mirrored. It's the same viewpoint. One guy, you're going to be looking at his lead leg, and his right hand is going to be back. And if they change positions, then the other guy's lead leg is going to be forward, and his right hand is going to be back. You don't have to chase them to try and get in position. Okay, it's a little different if one guy's a lefty, but when they're two right-handed fighters, you don't. Oh my God, I'm glad there's no footage of that on the internet anywhere, because my God, everything else I ever did embarrassing. Yeah, no, the first fight, there was a lot to learn. I came a long way as the years went on. I was probably not a very good referee in the very beginning, as most guys are not. People don't know that. Even dude, Mark Goddard, Keith Peterson, Dan Mergliotta, they all refereed their first fight somewhere, and they probably weren't really good. You learn a lot over the years by fucking shit up and be like, man, I'm not gonna do that again.
I'll tell you what, experience though is the name of the game for me. I'll tell you what, I went up there and won gold in my jiu-jitsu competition last year as a white belt, and all I remember is getting choked out in my first round. It was just such a blur of adrenaline and anxiety and just what the fuck is going on? And then I got choked out and tapped, and it was a round robin, signed up winning gold. Well, but I mean, after that though, it was it was like, okay, I've been here, I've done this now. Like I kind of have a feel for it. Like, okay, I can do this. And then
It's one of those
straight
things
wins.
where the more pressure you put on yourself to not fuck shit up, you're probably gonna fuck. Like you're probably gonna fuck shit up your first time. It's probably not gonna go smooth, unless you're John Jones, and then everything turns to gold. Even when you lose, you won. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, that was my first fight at the Philadelphia Armory down in Pennsylvania for Ryan Kerwin's XCC. I could actually probably go back and find the match. I'll see if I can find that tonight when I'm bullshitting around on the internet. My God, I'm glad there's no footage of that. It's just me running around. It's me
I
running
still
around.
got to find
like a
footage.
jackass.
I'm gonna have to go back from last episode and find that footage of you sprinting. Like I've still got to find it for clips or something. Like
I will do my best to find that tonight. I did look. Oh my God, if I can find this shit, it's now there are highlights of it on YouTube. The video is there, but I'm not sure if the comments are as funny. I'll send you guys a clip tonight.
Gotcha.
All right, Garrett. What else? What else we moving to, man? Maestro.
You don't really have a rant this week, so we could just kind of hit some bills again and give these people a shout out. And
I feel like anytime I talk, it's a rant.
That's what I was about to say. It felt kind of like earlier, like, I felt kind of like a ref rant when you were talking about, I don't remember, weight cuts or PEDs or something.
Yeah. I feel like I just bitch about a lot of shit, you know?
No, really, just have stuff to say.
We appreciate everybody stopping in tonight. Appreciate all your guys' time as usual. We are, as always, powered by Buff, caffeine, organic mushrooms, nootropics, and electrolytes. Fuck cans, get buffed. Fuck cans. Get buffed. Buff.energy/FightShow. Discount should automatically be applied. If it's not, use FightShow in the code. That'll be down there at the bottom. All this stuff is in the show notes. Tanner with his 500level.com. Go ahead and hit him with 500 level, Tanner.
Officially licensed UFC merch and all other sports from basketball, football, baseball. They've got throwbacks. I've got the Dustin Poirier on right now for $302, but like I said, all officially licensed. Code FightShow20 for 20% off. Get you some quality licensed sports merch and get your 20% off.
Hey,
got
Tanner,
the banner down there,
Tanner, do me one last favor before these people go and buy from 500level.com. Your hair is in the way of that T-shirt. Dude, give me one last click.
Real quick.
He just wants you to flip it. He doesn't even want the shirt in the frame. He just wanted you to flip it. That's all it was.
God, you son of a bitch! I hate you. Oh my God! Now you're just
there. It goes.
Get
your 20% off. Fight Show 20. I'm gonna have to wear that Diego Lopez shirt next time and make you jealous.
That's the best hair in the UFC.
Diego Lopez Bill can tell you. As Bill can tell you, and Matt in the comments, who's always here with us, Matt, shout out to Matt. Whether you're a sleepy driver, a trucker, a third shift worker, you need a little pep in your step, you want that first taste of coffee in the morning feeling 24 hours a day, noslap.com/FightShow. I got mine right here. It is the wake up stick, peppermint essential oils, and smelling salts, guaranteed to get you going. We got some more content coming with them soon. You will see some use cases from us. Again, noslap.com/FightShow. One more new comment here.
As soon as we get the no slap, we need to do a cold open where we all just take a hit.
No slap is good. I like no slap.
Yeah, so we're still waiting to see what's going on with them. Until then, noslap.com/FightShow for 20% off. And I guess we will call it a week. Thursday, next Thursday, Bill. Next Thursday. Christy will tell me here in a minute in the comments whether you're working or not.
I am off next Thursday. No, I don't sign Thursday overtime on my week off because I want to do the show. So
wonderful.
Sweet.
Well, we're glad that you're here with us. Mario Yamasaki.
What
shout
a
out,
dick.
Speaking of refs, shout out to Mario Yamasaki and his hard hand.
Shout out to OG. But
myself,
we'll be doing the show just in time for 302. Got 302 next weekend, so I got a lot of stuff.
302 next weekend. You got the week off this week. Josh Jackson's fighting on Bellator this weekend. If you don't have Fight Pass, go get Fight Pass. You can watch whatever. I know there was just some jiu-jitsu stuff on. Plenty of combat sports going on this week. You just got to search for it. On behalf of Bill, Tanner, and Sarah, and myself, we appreciate you guys for stopping in and being in the comments. Share. Fuck cans, get buffed. Powered by Buffed Energy Fight Show, episode 33, and we're out, guys. Thank you. See you.